Welcome back, everyone. In part 1, we saw why personal ownership dissolves wealth by generation 3. In part 2, we saw how dynasty trusts skip probate, estate tax, and forced liquidations. Today, what I'd like to share is how institutions access capital without ever selling assets. The permanent capital model. Liquidity without liquidation. This is part 3 of 4. Here's the trap that most real estate investors don't see. You build equity, properties appreciate, debt pays down, net worth climbs. But when opportunity strikes, you're frozen. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. See, it's Thursday morning and your phone rings. $2 million commercial building. Cap rate 8.5%. Below market pricing. Seller needs to close in 10 days. You have $18 million in real estate equity, but you can't access $400,000 for the down payment. Your options? Option 1, cash out refinance. 4 to 6 weeks minimum. Appraisal, underwriting, closing costs. The deal's gone by then. Option 2, sell a property, list it, find a buyer, escrow, 60 to 90 days. Also too late. Option 3, hard money loan. 12 to 18% interest, 5 points up front. It eats your profit margin. The deal dies, not because you lack wealth, but because your wealth is trapped. That's the liquidity crisis that retail investors face. Equity rich, cash poor. Net worth isn't wealth. Accessible net worth is wealth. Institutions don't liquidate to access capital. They architect strategic liquidity reserves. Here's how. Mechanism number 1, collateralized reserve access. Institutions hold stable liquid assets as reserves, not for growth, for deployment. When opportunity strikes, they borrow against these reserves. Tax-free, penalty-free, immediate access. The asset keeps compounding. Nothing stops growing. They deploy borrowed capital. Then they acquire the new opportunity. And now they have 2 assets that are compounding. That's velocity without liquidation. The Singapore Government Investment Corporation manages approximately $800 billion. 20 to 30% is held in stable reserves, not idle, compounding at about 3 to 5%, but accessible via collateralized borrowing. Instant liquidity for strategic deployments. Yale Endowment, same model. They maintain strategic liquidity reserves. They borrow against them at about 2 to 4%, then they deploy into private equity and real estate. Generates 8 to 12%. The arbitrage, that's the institutional advantage. Institutions don't choose between liquidity and growth. They engineer both. Mechanism number 2, strategic debt as capital tool. Institutions view debt differently than retail investors. Retail thinks debt is risky, pay it off as fast as possible. Institutions think debt is leverage, use it to multiply velocity. See, here's the difference. You own a $5 million property, $2 million mortgage, $3 million of equity. The retail approach, pay off the mortgage, own it free and clear, but then you lock up $5 million in one illiquid asset. The institutional approach is you refinance at 70% loan to value. You extract 1.5 mil. You keep $2 million of equity in the original property. Then you deploy that $1.5 million into 3 new acquisitions. Now you have the original property still compounding, 3 new properties compounding, and you have 4 income streams instead of 1. The debt isn't a burden, it's a velocity multiplier. The Rockefeller family office manages $11 billion. 90% of their real estate holdings carry strategic debt, not because they lack capital, because leverage amplifies velocity. Mechanism number 3, strategic liquidity reserves. This is where permanent capital institutions differentiate from banks. Banks operate on fractional reserves, meaning they lend 90% of deposits. If depositors demand their funds simultaneously, you got a liquidity crisis on your hands. Just think Silicon Valley Bank, regional bank runs. Deposit-based models are inherently fragile. Permanent capital institutions, they hold strategic liquidity reserves funded by equity capital, not deposits. These reserves compound tax-deferred, accessible via collateralized borrowing, and they're never taxed until withdrawn as income. And if you never withdraw, 0 tax, ever. Yale's $44.1 billion in strategic liquidity reserves compound inside the endowment. An investment committee borrows against them and deploys that capital into opportunities. Tax-deferred compounding plus collateralized access equals permanent capital velocity. And here's the key. This model isn't exclusive to $40 billion endowments. The same architecture exists at a smaller scale, designed for wealth builders with net worths between $3 million and $20 million. You can engineer strategic liquidity reserves the same way. You can hold them in tax-advantaged structures and access them via collateralized borrowing too. Never sell, never dissolve, never surrender velocity. The wealthy don't hoard cash. They architect access. Here's how institutions structure capital for indefinite survival. what I call the permanent capital stack. Layer 1, core assets, 60 to 70%. This includes real estate, operating businesses, income-producing holdings. The goal, growth plus income. And here's the framework that financial institutions use for their permanent capital stack. I call it the Stack, Shield, Scale framework. Stack, fund a stable compounding asset. Shield, leverage the stable compounding asset to acquire income-producing assets. Scale, take the cash flow, the tax savings, and the investment profits and reinvest it into your capital system. Leverage the stable compounding asset to acquire additional income-producing assets. This creates velocity. The Rockefellers access liquidity without selling. Yale deploys capital without liquidating. Singapore GIC compounds while staying liquid. They didn't invent a new strategy. They engineered a system. And that system, it's replicable. This is part 3 of 4. Part 4 shows you the exact vehicles institutions use to architect permanent capital and how you can implement the same model. Subscribe if you don't want to miss it. The full blueprint is actually at warchestprinciple.com. Strategic liquidity design, liquidity architecture, strategic reserve systems. Everything Yale, Singapore GIC, and the Rockefellers use. Adapted for wealth builders with net worths between $3 million and $20 million. If you're still liquidating to access capital, this is the exit.